It's the end of the weekend, but I still wanna turn up. Yeah, I still wanna turn up. All I want is to go again, but you ain't picking your phone up. Why you messing my head up? Any night, any day, let me take you away. All I need is just saying yeah, 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 yeah. Better nights, better days, when you're here with me, babe. Cause you're all that I crave, so I wonder, where are you? Don't hide away from me when I need you most. We got love guaranteed, and I have to know, say.
Well, first of all, listen, it's interesting about all these young guys today. They never call on us and say, hey, thanks for the kind word and telling me how great a player I am. But when they play like crap and we call them out, we don't know what we're talking about. Listen, I'm easy to find.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Nathan Snell, host of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you had a great week. Hope everybody's staying safe. Hope everybody has something planned for the weekend. This is episode 13, season 10 of the podcast. In this episode, we are previewing game 3 for the semifinals for the WNBA. But before we get into it, there's a few things I would like to say up front. Brendan Potts cannot join me this evening on this episode, so therefore I will be solo. He will be back after game 4. He really wanted to talk about the awards that were announced, which really stirred up some interesting conversation, and I have my thoughts on that. Also, too, what's coming down the pipe is my thoughts on the Washington Commanders and the Baltimore Ravens 53-man rosters, and then we're going to get into start previewing each division with teams and giving their season record predictions as well. So be tuned in for those videos. Now, a couple things. The all defensive teams, they were released early, which was kind of went off the schedule. So we have 2 more sets of awards. We have MVP that will be announced on the 7th, and then on the 15th, all WNBA first and second teams will be announced. So I just wanted to also give those up. But we did have some other awards that were announced. I'm going to start with those. So 6th Woman of the Year, and it was a no-brainer. Maryland's finest, Brianna Jones, was named 6th Woman of the Year. All-Star. Again, last year really improving for most of improved player, but to get another All-Star nod, she pretty much was unanimous. 53 out of 56 voters. Also, who was voted was for 6th Woman of the Year was Azrae Stevens and Maisha Hines-Allen, who only had 1 vote. Brianna Jones has been a key contributor off their bench. She finished second, and she finished second in scoring and third in rebounding for the team wise. She's the only player that was named to the All-Star team that came off the bench, and on top of that, coming off a most improved player, which means that Dearica Hamby's streak of 6th Woman of the Year has officially snapped, because she took it home in 19 and Kelsey Plum took it in 2020. We've seen some others in the past. I think Jonquel Jones was the most recent Connecticut Sun in 2018. Before that was Renee Montgomery, and DeWanna Bonner, also a 3-time 6th Woman of the Year as well. So, when you look at Brianna Jones, as a reserve player, she's averaged almost 14 points a game. And then you top of that off with almost 5 rebounds a game. Like, shooting 57% from the field, that's what you want for someone that bring energy off your bench. And the Sun, I got to give a shout out to Mark Schindler, mailed me this 6-step recipe for Brianna Jones becoming 6 years. So shout out to Mark. I appreciate you. And definitely, the chef was in the kitchen and she did her work. So proud of the work she's doing. And somebody will pay her, because I'm hoping she comes back home and plays with the Mystics, because it's going to be an interesting offseason. She's definitely going to get her bag. So congratulations, Brianna. Most improved player, without a shadow of a doubt, was Jackie Young. Congratulations, Jackie. Definitely well-deserved. There has been some moments where she could be a little bit more aggressive, but she definitely took it to another level this season. Almost averaging 16 points a game, a little under 4 rebounds, almost 4 assists, and almost shooting 43% from the field. That's what you want in a player like her, especially the number overall pick. A lot of people questioned her. Was she ready to come? Was she ready to go into the W? And she had stayed a year. And for the most part, she's definitely proved them wrong. So I'm really proud of Jackie. Just sky's the limit for her, without a shadow of a doubt. So, and then the all defensive teams. Oh, Asia Wilson was named Defensive Player of the Year as well. That was a no-brainer. I've had to put that as a banner. I apologize. Well deserved. I know some people are going to push for Brianna Stewart or Alyssa Thomas. I mean, they're my top 3 candidates if I had to vote. But when you look at Asia, I feel like she had to do more defensively this year, especially in Coach Hammond's scheme. Like, I mean, I think she's done a great job guarding the perimeter. She led the league in blocks, and I just think that you just see her defensively improving. I mean, you look at her stats; she's top 5. I mean, every statistical category, and she's the glue of their paint defense. And it's just the energy that she brings. Now, you look at Alyssa Thomas. I think her impact, especially guarding I think Jasmine Thomas not there. I think the focal point is just I love how she reads the passing lanes, and it's how she's quick to rotate and create havoc on the defensive end of the ball. And I just think the point of attack that she's led that defense, it's just been spectacular. Because I mean, a lot of it starts with her, and the Connecticut Sun had the second best defensive rating in the league. So I gotta give credit Alyssa Thomas for that. Now Brianna Stewart. Now this notion again, but we all know that she's going to remain the best defensive 4. We all know that. We haven't seen that arguably for quite some time in the league. She does everything in terms when it comes to rotation, help on defense, communication, all those things. I just think she's an all-around defender. I just felt like this was Asia's year, and I still believe Asia Wilson will win MVP. But those are my top 3 candidates for Defensive Player of the Year. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky. The all defensive teams were announced. If I had a vote, and what I did, I feel like it should be positionless. I just think doing it if you're going to do it by position, we need to see how many votes who was voted for, because I have some questions, because I can tell a couple things from these selections. You didn't watch all the games, and number 2, I think some bias was involved in the selection. I've been very vocal recently of adding a third team, like the NBA has it. They have the third like all rookie team, all NBA team. I don't know why we won't do that for the W. Have 3 all teams. That's really interesting. But the first team was Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, Sylvia Fowles. Natasha Cloud, Ariel Atkins. And then second team was Alyssa Thomas, Jonquel Jones, Ezzie McNamara, Brittany Sykes, and Gabby Williams.
These are legitimate questions. I don't have answers. I'm starving for answers. I'm starving for them because I don't have them. I'm so disgusted because I got to be out there at that game this Saturday. I got to see this. Inquiring minds want to know why. I truly do want to know why.
Let me be careful what I say with this. Sylvia Fowles, great as she is, first ballot Hall of Famer, did not have a great statistical year. I'm one of those, I'm not a fan of giving out lifetime achievement awards. And I felt like this was a going away gift. If we, and I redid the list, and I'll show it. Asia Wilson and Brandon Stewart, those two are locks. You can make a strong case that Ariel Atkins and Natasha Cloud should be on this list. And I'm going to start with those two, because watching them in person, but more importantly, just seeing how, particularly Ariel Atkins, she showed why she was one of the best defensive guards in the league. The ability to pressure the ball, rotate, and not only nab steals, but also to create charts, sacrifice herself on the defensive side of the ball. Natasha Cloud, she's very vocal about, we're gonna hear what she's got to say in terms of she's the best point guard, she defends the best player, and she does those things. She battles to the ones and threes, even sometimes here switch on the front court players. It's just Natasha's IQ and the physicality on the defensive side are one of those reasons. But also, too, I look at Shakira Austin, I think that really also makes a difference. Now, when I look at the second team, this is where you lose me, because you've got three players on the second team that should be first team. And that's Alyssa Thomas, Brittany Sykes, and Gabby Williams. And I think Brittany Sykes, I think some of what transpired with the Sparks this season, I think that's where the bias comes in. And again, if you're watching Alyssa Thomas, I don't really understand what are we missing. Ezzie McNamara, this is fair. Gabby Williams, who's been a tremendous defensive anchor for Seattle. I think even when she was in Chicago, like her and Kalia Copper, those two were a good mesh. Now, when you look at Gabby, especially watching her play the Mystics, I mean, she defensively will frustrate you as a player, and she does it in an area position. Now, my list, because I this really did cause some controversy. I think everybody was really up in arms that Natasha Cloud and Ariel Atkins and Sylvia Fowles should not have been there. I heard some people were like, you had some Chicago players in there, like Rebecca Gardner, Kalia Copper. Some even had Candace Parker. I was surprised there were some players that were not on this list. So what I did, and that's why I think a third team needs to come in, because like we have this discussion every year. Somebody's always going to get left off the list. Unfortunately, it sucks. I don't like it, but that's just how it is. Someone's always going to get left off. But for what I did, I think this was fair. So I got some good feedback on this. So this was my list. So I did first team, Natasha Cloud, Brittany Sykes, Alyssa Thomas, Brandon Stewart, Asia Wilson. That's how I did it. Then I did second team. I did Ariel Atkins, Rebecca Gardner, Gabby Williams, Ezzie McNamara, Jonquel Jones. And I added a third team because I'm also too, again, because to vote for just 10 players, it's tough. And some people kind of felt like, no, we don't need to do that. We're kind of appeasing. And when I look at like Candace Parker or Tara McCallum or Brianna Turner, excuse me, like we're not recognizing what they've done. And I think that's where I think you'd have a third team. And I got some interesting feedback on it. Some people said that Ariel Atkins should have been third team, Kalia and Alicia should have been second team. But for the most part, I feel like this is what if we did it the way I would like the league to do it, where you have a first team, second team, and a third team. This is what it would look like, because we did have some good seasons, and unfortunately, they're not truly recognized. So, but for the most part, congratulations to all those award winners. We have 2 more awards, and everybody I know is literally holding their breath for MVP, because when MVP comes out, it's going to be all hell. So let's move on to the playoffs. This is round 2, Western semifinals. It's been a couple interesting games so far. It's tied between all 4 teams. We're going to start with the Las Vegas Aces versus the Seattle Storm. The first 2 games I've noticed, at game 1, Las Vegas, they didn't win that game. I felt like a couple things. Joe Lloyd, once again, this notion that Breanna Stewart has no help is ridiculous. We saw Joe Lloyd in game 1 against Washington, who was nowhere to be found for three and a half quarters. And then come the fourth quarter late, just turned the switch on. Game 1 against Las Vegas wasn't the same way, but down the stretch looked like the game 1 against Washington Mystics. I feel like Jewel Lloyd is their closer, and I mean, just to create the ability to create and make tough shots, that's what she did. I just think that was one key. Breanna Stewart set the tone versus A'ja Wilson, because that's what it's going to be. These are your 2 MVP candidates, and she outplayed A'ja Wilson in game 1 on the offensive, especially on the defensive side of the ball. She had 24 points, 6 rebounds, and meanwhile A'ja had 8 points, 12 rebounds. I just think what also hurt them was in game 1 was Seattle outpaced Vegas. Again, I told you that was going to be the key, is outpacing Vegas. And for some unknown reason, I don't know, Las Vegas, you can tell that the style offense they've had, but game 1, they struggled to get in the transition. I mean, Seattle completely controlled the fast breaks. I mean, they went 16 fast break points. That can't happen if you're Las Vegas. Credit Seattle's defense. I mean, there were a lot of unnecessary turnovers, 11 of them. And I think also too, Seattle made a conscious effort. They pushed the pace. There was an example in the third quarter where they made 3 transition layups in 2 minutes, beating Las Vegas down the floor. That can't happen. And I do also question the offense, because for Las Vegas, for the fourth quarter, the fact that A'ja Wilson took 1 shot, that can't happen. And we're going to get into the game too, so I'm just giving you some context. But that was my observation for game that I saw in game 1. And game 2, they came out blazing. We knew that Vegas was going to respond. When you look at what I think was better is their small ball lineup. Vegas, I think that might be the adjustment. I think that might work for game 3. I think when you look at when Vegas' small ball lineup, That was the key, because like when you look at the lineup that Vegas has had, Dearica Hamby's not there. She's hopefully will be back soon. I think the expectations for her to score, especially that's not really truly her role to be a start. I think it's more of a coming off the bench. And I think what ended up happening when you play small, it helps someone like it helps to help off like Dearica, for example. So what they did was they took her out the starting lineup and put Kia Stokes, who's a rim protector, needs to be a better shooter. But Dearica Hamby can space the floor. That's Kia just has, I think at times it's not, it can shoot the ball, but it's not consistent. Like, I think that when you look at in the first round, I think having those guys, I think having Asia and Kia out there, that creates too much congestion. And even though Phoenix didn't have the offense, but you could tell that Seattle were trying to get Kia, were really, their focus was on Kia Stokes. It worked in game one. But I think that when you look at game two, they were outscored by 6 in 29 minutes, and those two shared the court. But when you look at their starting lineup, I think it got better just a little bit. And I think that's going to be your key going into game three, because like when you have a small ball lineup, your defense, there's a couple of questions. Jackie Young, there's a size disadvantage, but like someone against Brianna Stewart, who defends Tina Charles? Those are questions like that. Like the fact that Asia Wilson was on Brianna Stewart, Ezzie McMagor, yet Jackie Young was guarding her. Becky Hammond put Gray on Tina Charles, and I think her strength bothered Tina. Those are the kind of things. And you saw Seattle, they were stuck on mismatches. They couldn't really figure out, okay, like, what do we do on the offensive side of the ball? I think the offense with Las Vegas, I think it's better because now you can space the floor and shoot and still frustrate them on the end. I think that's going to be the key. And I just don't think Seattle can. I don't think they have the answers for it, because if Gabby Williams is available to play, Las Vegas can only play their rotation for so long. And this has kind of been the issue going into this in the postseason. They've only used 6 players in game 2, because my concern is that you're going to wear your starters down. And I think that you got to have a backup plan if you're Becky Hammond, and if this strategy is now figured out. So I think going into game 3, this lineup I think is going to work, because I just don't see. I can't see Kia Stokes coming off. I see her more coming off the bench. But now you got, Raquana Williams, or Raquana Williams, Kelsey, Jackie, Chelsea, and Asia. Now you're going to have to figure out how to make sure everyone's getting not only by minutes, but you're not pushing them to their limits. Like we should be playing like 38 minutes. And if I got someone out there in foul trouble, I can't do that. Like you got to figure out how to use your rotation if there's foul trouble. But I could see Seattle kind of visibly upset, because they just didn't know how to fix it. And I think that Las Vegas showed you that they can get rattled. Seattle can get rattled on both sides of the floor. And I should see how the strategy works in game 3. But I think the keys for game 3, if you're Vegas, do not let Seattle outpace you. Keep the small ball lineup. I will make an adjustment. I would switch the lineup a little bit. Still have the same 5, but switch, but defensively. I want defensive switching. I would have liked to see where you try some zone defense if you're Vegas, but I still think this is Las Vegas's series to win. I'm going to say they win game 3. I'm looking along the lines of 83-75.
Guaranteed.
Let's painfully move on to the Chicago Sky versus Connecticut Storm. Because the pissing me off, man. Like game 1, I can't tell you how excited I was. Game 2 just wasn't much better. I mean, in game 1, I thought the key was Connecticut had to come in and steal one on the road. You had to set the tone because you're coming into another series where you've been swept regular season. This is the same team that beat you last year in the playoffs. And offensively, they struggled, but their defense definitely led the way. Candace Parker, who had a terrific night, game 1, 19 points, 18 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 steals, and 6 blocks. She's the first player in the league to have at least 15 and 5 blocks in a playoff game. Connecticut, they played on their terms, and that's what I liked. Connecticut, they're physical and they're athletic, and that can overwhelm you as an opponent. When you look at them on the defensive side, they kept Chicago off balance, forcing turnovers, rush shots, and they were just wasting possessions as champions. That was interesting. Like Van Quigley didn't have a great night. Candace Parker was really the only one that showed out to play. The bench, Azare Stevens, Dana Evans, Emma Meesmith, they didn't have a great game. And you look at Chicago, means Connecticut offensively, they didn't have a great game neither, but they got the job done. I mean, 45 of their 68 points that came in the paint or at the free throw line, and then 12 offensive rebounds, and they took 7 more shots than Chicago. Like my star, the only star that has playoff experience, DeWanna Bonner, can't have games like that. I mean, yes, she had 15 points, but it wasn't a great 15 points. It was it wasn't a, let me just say, it wasn't a good 15 points, but it still mattered. And like, that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to set the tone. But again, like I said, I thought that was also key. Like Chicago, they just had no answers for them. Like, and then game 2, I saw a different Sky team out there that had urgency. They're ready to play, and I felt like that was expected of them. I mean, they made the plays that they needed to. Again, their pace was just it's hard to explain. It just is so frustrating because, like, when you look at their offense, I mean, it's a European style offense, and like Candace Parker led with 22 points. Courtney Vandersloot, they all played better. I mean, they were determined and to win this game. And I knew they were going to win the game. They didn't want to go down 0-2. But I mean, it's really hard to explain it because like they just Connecticut just had no answers. I mean, again, like I think their success has just been on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, in the first quarter, Chicago shot 60% from the field and then 50% from three, and like that can't happen. I mean, I thought on the defensive side, Connecticut allowed them to just offensively just just have no on the defensive side of the ball. There's no adjustments. There's no creating pressure. None of those things. I mean, they just they were active game one, and then Connecticut game two, just all of a sudden, like it looked like a different Sun team out there, and we can't keep blaming the referees for how you play. Game one there was lack of fouls called. Yes, I agree with that. I think there was like 21 fouls. Seven of those were called on Connecticut. And then game two, and it was 32. Like if you've got that many fouls as a team, 17 of them, and 6 of those were committed in the second quarter, that means you're doing something wrong. And again, Connecticut is physical, but again, it's a hometown call. I don't like it. Some of those fouls were ticky tack, and there was calls that they didn't get either on their side. And that's another issue is just consistency. The pace that Connecticut played was average, but I don't understand what is the issue with Connecticut, because they shouldn't going back to Connecticut. They shouldn't be upset or have this intention like it's over, because you got one on the road. That sets the tone now that you're home, and now you just got to protect home court Sunday, and hopefully Tuesday you go to the hopefully Tuesday you're going to the finals. Guaranteed. Like I'm sticking with that. The Connecticut Sun are going to the finals. Like I did see my MVP, reigning MVP, John Paul Jones, 23 points on 17 shots. But I need some others, man. I need some others to step it up. Like I need more from DeWanna Bonner. I need more from Courtney Williams. I ain't gonna. I love Courtney, but they signed you for a reason. You got to give me more. I got to have some more help offensively, and that's it. That's it. Like I got to have some more help. Like she's been shooting less than 30% from the field the past 5 games. I mean, Wednesday night, she was literally 3 of 10. I hoping that she rekindles magic from 2019, but I might have to start looking at the bench. I may look at Dejanay Carrington or giving more minutes to Natisha Heidemann. Like their second unit also too. Let's give them credit. And that's where Brianna Jones comes into play as well. That second unit kept them in the game. But you gotta have some more help offensively, and your MVP did that. Now, I think what has to happen is that game 2 to wrap sum this all up. Chicago took Connecticut offensively out the game. I mean, like the fact that just in the first quarter, it was 17-14, and Chicago was up 3, and they went on a 7-0 run. Within that time, Connecticut didn't do that great from the field. I think they went like 0 for 4 and they ended up being down 30-24, and then Chicago went on an 11-0 run, and they were up 42-32. That can't happen. Like, I think these two games were just the appetizer. Now game 3, I think you really get to see who wants it more. I need Connecticut offensively to pick it up. That's what I'm looking for. I know Candace Parker, she's going to do her thing. I know Van Quigley's going to do both of them are going to do their thing, the bench. But I'm sticking with my pick. This is Connecticut's series to win, and I'm sticking with that. They're going to the finals. I just cannot see them, for now, having home court advantage, not protecting home court. I can't see that. But for game 3, I'm saying that Connecticut Sun beat the Chicago Sky 83-76. Guaranteed. I'm sticking with those. I'm confident with it. I wish I had some tape to play for you guys. The one thing that is kind of a pain is that you don't have access to getting the I don't have access getting the post and practice calls for Chicago or Connecticut. They said I could get on the Content Network, but I've emailed them a couple of times, and we email them again. So I was able to ask James Wade and Kurt Miller a couple of questions about who was the coaches for them to help them be the coaches that they are today. I did ask them for game 1, and Las Vegas had their post practice call. They're having another one today. So I'm sorry. Well, they'll have one tomorrow. Excuse me. They had one today and they have one tomorrow. Excuse me. I apologize for that. So be tuned in for that. Brendan will be back after game 4. Whatever happens, he'll be back on there. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to conclude the episode. Be tuned in for future episodes of the podcast. As I stated, be on the lookout for those other videos. In terms of the NFL, get ready for week 1, previewing each division. Maryland football, check out those other the videos that are already up. Maryland football, my take on those. College basketball is actually upon us too, so we're going to look out for those videos. But in the meantime, closing message, I go back to the self-care, making sure that you make sure that you take care of yourself. John Wall, it has kind of resonated with me because, he lost his mom, he's lost his grandma, and he had thoughts of, committing suicide. Basically, last couple of years was tough, and I can sympathize with that. But knowing, watching him play for the Wizards, for the years I got to see him, I just think that we have to understand that these guys are human. They have things going on in their lives. Everyone's not. His story, when he came out with it, it was very, very. It just gives you a moment to reflect and kind of saying, "Damn," like the last 3 years. I mean, he tore his Achilles, and then I'm getting traded from Washington to Houston. It was crazy. Like he just, he talked about how he was at one point a dark place. His mom, like I said, his mom passed in the midst of COVID, and then his grandma, I think it was as well. So, just crazy. I think his mom, I want to say she died of breast cancer. And then I know same thing with her I think his grandmother died 2020. It's just self-care, and more importantly, making sure that you are taking care of yourself and doing all the necessary things to make sure that you are well. And don't be afraid to reach out and talk to somebody. And having that support system truly, truly matters. I don't care what anyone has to say. When you have a support system that looks out for you and ensures that you get the help and love and support that you need, good things are bound to happen. You know, he talked about how the team, he talked about the mother of his kids, and he said the sons motivate him. And I'm so happy that he's got the support and he's doing all the things to get better every day. And with that, I'm going to say John Wall will not only be comeback player of the year, but he'll be an all-star, and the Los Angeles Clippers will be in the NBA Finals. Guaranteed. So, again, just make sure you just take care of yourselves and check on loved ones, and just take it one day at a time. Everything will be all right. So, with that being said, that's going to conclude the episode of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How are you liking the semifinals so far? Please like, comment, subscribe. Also share the podcast. Check me out on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. It's much appreciated. But in the meantime, I will catch you guys on the flip side. Hope you all have a great weekend. Stay safe. Peace.
But I get sick of these guys complaining. These young guys, they never call us and say, when a coach is wrong, I'm going to call him out. But when players are wrong, I'm going to call them out. Thanks for the kind words. But listen, I'm going to criticize guys that they deserve it. And listen, they can kiss my ass if they don't like it.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode and you want to see more content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bring your sports game on Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's a sour taste in it. It's a sour taste. To be fooled again, honey. To be fooled again. Stole my heart and ripped it into pieces. Yes, you did.